Welcome to the Bookish Ballerina Podcast, where we talk about ballet, stories, art, science, economics, music, and everything in between. I'm your host, Eleanor Stewart, and I am a rather bookish ballerina.
Today, my guest is Lauren Hernandez, the CEO of the Tallahassee Ballet. Although it is her first season as the CEO, she has held multiple roles at the Tallahassee Ballet throughout the years, including school director, artistic associate, development director, and chief operating officer. We chat about her background, her goals for the Tallahassee Ballet, the challenges and rewards of such a role, and many other things. I hope you enjoy.
Hello, and welcome to the Bookish Ballerina Podcast.
Hello. I'm so excited.
To start off, what is your story?
So I am Lauren Hernandez. I am the new CEO for the Tallahassee Ballet. I have a long story, I guess you could say, in regards to the Tallahassee Ballet. I started in 2008 as a dancer, soloist with the Tallahassee Ballet. I came to Tallahassee to get my degree in dance from Florida State University. And before that, I was dancing with the Richmond Ballet. And so when I got to Florida State, I said, I need more ballet. And so I found the Tallahassee Ballet, and I started dancing with them. And a couple years later, our previous CEO, she looked at me and she said, "You're going to be a really good teacher." I was like, "What? I don't know about that." And she said, "No, you will be. You need to start teaching." So it was the summer, I believe, of 2010 that I started to teach. And she was right. I fell in love, and it came very natural to me. And so when I came to graduate in 2011, our previous CEO, Janet, she said, "I don't want to lose you." And so at that point, what they could offer me was to start out as the executive assistant. So I started out as her assistant, and teaching several classes for the school. And I just worked my way up slowly but surely. About a year or so later, I became school director. And then in 2013, I believe, when we got a new artistic director, he was looking for an assistant, kind of more of an associate. So funny story, our previous artistic director, Tyrone Brooks, he was my teacher in high school. I went to Virginia School of the Arts for 3 years, and he, I believe, came on my junior year. So he was my teacher there. And then he actually also showed up at FSU while I was getting my degree, and was one of the guest teachers at FSU, and then became our artistic director in 2013. So I always tell the story, you never know. Because if for some reason I had given any sort of bad vibe or had done anything, he may have said, "No, I don't really want her as my associate." But that was not the case. So I became artistic associate of the company and ballet mistress of the school. And then in 2015, I got married. 2017, I had my daughter. And at that point, we decided that we wanted to be closer to my parents. And so they live in the North Georgia mountains. So we actually moved in 2017 up to the North Georgia mountains. It was very bittersweet. Obviously, I'd been with the ballet for quite a long time. I had gained incredible relationships with the students and the dancers. The parents, I mean, they threw me a bridal shower when I got married. Yes. They threw me a baby shower when they found out, that I was pregnant with my daughter. And so it was definitely very bittersweet. But we moved. We were gone for 5 years. While we were gone, I continued teaching for a small college called Young Harris College. I was adjunct there. I also was the director of ballet at North Georgia Dance Arts. And then eventually I actually got into fundraising at Young Harris College. I started out as the advancement coordinator because I really didn't know too much about fundraising. And then again, wanted to learn as much as I could. I was a sponge. And after about a year and a half, I got promoted to a director of development for the college. Really loved fundraising and realized that I was pretty good at it. And so then when my husband and I decided we wanted to move away from the mountains, it's a more of like a retirement community. My husband was actually the one that brought us back to Tallahassee with his job. And I had kept in touch with Janet and Mr. Brooks, the CEO and the artistic director, and had told them I was moving back. I actually was interviewing for a job at FSU College of Music as a development officer. Oh. And when Janet found out that I was returning, she waited a couple days and then she called me and she said, okay, hear me out. We've been looking for a development director. And not only that, she was looking to retire eventually. And she said, you have held almost every position at the Tallahassee Ballet. And now that you've gotten this fundraising experience and this business experience, you are the person that I foresee taking over as CEO when I plan to retire, which was exciting and overwhelming. And we can get into it later, I'm sure, when we talk about more things. But just to think that it's kind of all come full circle. Starting out as the executive assistant in 2011 to now 2024 being the CEO. So basically we moved back in 2022. I was development director for the year. And I, implemented new things, like we started our a giving day that will now be an annual thing. And of course, trying to cultivate more donors and get the ballet out in the community more. And then a year later, I was promoted to COO. So I took on all of the operations because we knew this was going to be a transition. So it was kind of like, let's start slowly getting you into that. So 1 year as COO, and then this past August became CEO. So that was kind of a long story. I apologize.
Yes. No, I love it. That's awesome. So you've been both on the artistic side of things in multiple ways, as well as administrative side of things.
Yes.
What have been some of the similarities, differences, different challenges that you've noticed between those two different types of roles?
So specifically with like artistic, for me, when I was dancing with the company and then I became artistic associate, I was still dancing. And so to make that transition was a little difficult because obviously my peers saw me as one of their peers, as one of the dancers. And then I kind of became their boss in a way. And so I had to kind of transition myself, to step away a little bit, I guess you could say, from, my relationships with them, because I didn't want it to become muddled. And that was a little difficult, okay, I'm still dancing, but yet there's times where I come up to the front and help with casting or, help with, rehearsal directing and that sort of thing. So I would say that was a little difficult for me. I learned a lot from it. And I think it definitely helped mature me. Because you just you have to just take a step back and move into a different role and have different relationships than what you were used to.
Yes.
Administrative wise, the admin part of it can kind of boggle you down some. There are days where, you have an idea of what you want to do. You have your to-do list, and things will get thrown at you, and that ends up getting put to the wayside because you have to focus on what's the most important. So, admin wise, I would say it's just a lot of, it can become very meticulous. And then when you combine the both, when you are combining, say, artistic and admin, for example, like, doing casting or, scheduling different, opportunities, that sort of thing. It can be very tedious, because there's a lot that goes into it, and you have to think of not only the artistic side of it, but then you have to also think about the administrative side of it. And I will say too, now in the role that I'm in, I have that artistic experience, but now I also have this, business experience. And so it can be a little bit difficult when, say, my artistic director has this idea of what they want to do for the season, and you want to support them. I want to support them in every way that I can. However, I also have to look at the business end of it and go, okay, well, what's going to sell tickets? What's going to get butts in the seats? What's going to help us grow? What's going to help catapult us? That sort of thing. So, finding the happy medium between making your entire artistic staff happy and feeling like they are supported, while also making sure that you're looking at everything from the business end and what is this going to do to help everyone. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. How did you, I guess, make the decision to transition from dancing into more of the administrative stuff? I actually, very recently, this episode will come out next week, but I spoke to KTN with Pivot Point. Have you heard anything about that organization?
I haven't, no.
Her whole business is helping dancers learn more about other careers, transitioning into other careers. So that's something I'm thinking about after that conversation, especially.
Of course. So obviously, as we all know, there comes a time in a dancer's life that things may not come as easy, and your body just starts to tell you that you're getting older. And for me personally, it kind of started before I came to FSU. So I was dancing at Richmond Ballet, and the ballet master, my second year there, looked at me and said, you're a hard worker. You're a great dancer. You are short, but you can get away with that. There are plenty of ballet companies that are okay with that. However, your arms are too short. Your arms are too short, and it's going to affect you making this a career, because ballet is all about aesthetics. I was devastated because I had been dancing since the age of 4. At the age of 8, I told my parents this was what I wanted to do for a living. I moved away from home when I was 15 years old. I moved 8 hours away to go to a boarding school for dance. So this was my life. So I had to, at that point, take a step back. I mean, I knew eventually, obviously, that I was not going to be dancing forever. But when you're 19 years old, that's not something that you're really thinking about. So I had to kind of take a step back and go, okay, what am I going to do now? Well, I guess I'm going to get my degree in dance, because dance is that was all that I ever knew. So of course, going to college, I think helped as well, because they do tend to, have you look at not just dancing, but potentially also at admin, aspects. You take different classes and different things. And then for me, it was just, I was in the right place at the right time because I auditioned for the Tallahassee Ballet. I got in, and then I just so happened to have a good relationship with my CEO. And she was the one that was like, based off of your personality, I know you're going to be a good teacher. And so that opened up that area of teaching. And, I've taught anywhere from 18 months, our mommy and me, all the way up through adults. Yes. So that's one thing that dancers can look at too, when they're, getting towards or looking into the future of, okay, well, maybe I'd like to go into teaching, or choreographing. And that was another thing. Once I became artistic associate, I got to kind of dive into more of the choreography aspect, which I never thought that I would go into, but you kind of have to open your mind. You just never know. And I think for me, and what I can say to it is I'm a yes person. And I have a very positive outlook. And so I said, well, I've never done choreography before, but why can't I? Or I've never taught before, but why can't I? And having the what's the word I'm looking for? The confidence. There it is. The confidence to go, I've never done this before, but that doesn't mean that I can't. And that was the same thing once I was in the mountains, and it was because of COVID. The North Georgia Dance Arts ended up closing down, and so I needed to bring in an income for my family. I was already teaching at the college, and this position as advancement coordinator came. They always open it up to the employees of the college first before the public. And so I looked at it, and I remember sitting there with my husband, and I was like, well, I've never done this, and I've never done this, and I've never done this. But I've done so many admin aspects of, being a school director, or when I was, artistic associate and doing all of the admin part of the company. Why can't I do this? It's just a whole different genre. It's fundraising. Yes. So I feel like doors just kind of opened for me, but at the same time, I was opened to exploring other options. And whether that was just because I needed to, because I knew that I needed to bring in an income, or just, I wanted to keep going and I wanted to keep learning. And so that's what I would kind of say to dancers who may, be thinking about, what's going to happen when I finish dancing. Keep your options open, be a yes person, learn as much as you can, be a sponge. You just, because you never ever know what could happen. I never thought, however many, when I was in college or even before college, did I ever think that I would become CEO of a ballet company? No. Or not even just a ballet company. We're a whole organization, a ballet school, a company, a youth company, outreach, all of that. Did I ever think of that? No. But you just never know. You never know. And you just have to keep your options open and be willing to learn as much as you can.
One of the things that I, as a dancer, have observed, and then also with other dancers we've discussed, is the Tallahassee Ballet has a very unique culture, especially compared to a lot of ballet companies right now. So I guess, how has that been grown? Mr. Brooks had a lot to do with that. I know Janet had a lot to do with that throughout the years. How has that been grown? And then what are the steps that y'all are taking to maintain that? And what are you prioritizing with respect to the culture of the ballet company and ballet school?
And when you say the culture, like specific, is it just like the fact that everybody's really like a family, or like what?
That there's a lot of respect for one another. I was talking with Kirsten. I'll have to ask her if it's okay for me to mention this in the published episode. But I was talking with Kirsten. She said there are many places where like, the costume staff is just not respected very well within a ballet company. So just all of the different sides of things. Everyone feels appreciated.
Yes.
And like we're building something together and not like we're just a pawn, I guess.
Okay. So I feel like that was probably something that the ballet established a long time ago, way before me. I mean, we've been around for over 50 years. And I can say, because I know the previous artistic directors and the previous executive directors, that they made it a point to continue that, feeling of respect and unity and, being appreciated. And like when I first came in as just a dancer, I saw that as well. And I want to say it's continued. And, our previous artistic director, Mr. Brooks, he was crucial with that. Because he made sure that, he would always say, I don't want any, ill feelings between each other or any riffraff. I don't know if that's the word, but like, he didn't want there to be any like animosity between the dancers and the staff and that sort of thing. And he just made it a point to really push that and continue growing it, I guess I could say. Mm-hmm. And, now with me coming on as CEO and having our new artistic director who, she's also been a part of the organization for some time as well. I think it's just that, we were in this organization for so long and we saw how well it was run and the fact that it has grown so much because of our predecessors. And so wanting to continue that same, vibe, but also, we understand that without our dancers, we wouldn't have a ballet company. So, I always want the dancers to feel that they're part of something special and that, they know how much we love them and we want them here. And I think also Mr. Brooks has definitely started this and Megan has continued this of opening up the company to just a vast array of dancers, different diversity and all of that. Like I really love that we're continuing, not what ballet companies used to be, where you all had to be the same size and the same height or the same, that sort of thing. Like now it's much more appreciated, all different types of body types and that sort of thing. And I want to continue that. I feel like, our new artistic director, she feels the same way. So, I think it also boils down to like, for me personally, as a leader, I'm the top, right? And so I need my staff to also feel heard, appreciated, respected, that they are a part of something that, that they feel that they're a part of something that's continuing to grow and continuing to develop, and that they have, they're part of that. They're helping with that. And so I feel like if it starts from the top, it will trickle down. So that way, your staff feels that way. Then your dancers feel that way. Then your students feel that way. So just making sure it's a priority. And I think kind of circling back is that that's what it's always been for this organization. And it's just something that's continued.
I love it. Yes. Yes. What are some other things, maybe some priorities, but also some new things that you've added? I know we mentioned Giving Day. What are some other newer things with the Tallahassee Ballet?
Okay, so let's see. So this year, last year, no, let me go back. There's so many things. So I came in 2022, and when I first stepped into this building, because I should say that when I started out as a dancer, we were in a very small facility, one studio, costume shop, was not air conditioned. And then we grew and we moved to where we had 2 studios, and we thought we had died and gone to heaven. And then coming into this facility where now we have 3 studios, and we have a gorgeous costume shop, and we have a conference room, and we have a props and sets room, and a waiting area. So when I walked into here, I was completely and utterly awestruck. But then as I got into my position, I said to myself, this facility is gorgeous. This is like nothing we've ever seen here before. Mm-hmm. How can we utilize this? So that's when I came up with the idea of having a, in-house performance, because I knew a lot of ballet companies, they do that anyway. They'll turn one of their larger studios into like a black box or like a performance venue. So I'm like, why can't we do that? We now have the ability. We have the studios that can do this. So last year was the first year that we added a 4th performance to our season called Intimate. It's right around Valentine's Day. And it is here at the facility. So that's one of the reasons it's called Intimate. That we started that last year. It was a huge success. It is now part of our season. So we're looking at our second, Intimate this coming year. Very excited about it. There's so many, things that we could do with it as we move forward. And so I'm interested to see how it grows. So that was one thing that I started. Very, very proud of that. And I'm hoping that it will continue to, spark the community and we'll get, even more patrons to come to it. And it's a really nice option for people to really be up close and up close and personal with the dancers. But then it turned into where it became a space for dancers to be able to choreograph. So now we have that option of dancers who may want to start the choreography process or, showcase their works, that they now have that option to do that. So that I think was one thing that I'm super proud of. Obviously, like you said, Giving Day, because I came from a higher ed fundraising background, most higher ed institutions have a Giving Day. And so I'm like, well, why is it that we can't do this? I know a lot of nonprofits, of course, they do, something for like Giving Tuesday right after Thanksgiving, but in the higher ed sector, they tend to do a Giving Day on a completely other day during the year, where the focus on that day is just raising as much money as you possibly can and getting your dancers involved, getting your parents involved, getting your board members involved. And that was my biggest thing was I want everyone to come together to help with this. And so I want to say our first year was for our 50th anniversary year. And so everybody was like, oh, what's your goal? And I'm like, okay, first thing in fundraising, especially in Giving Day, is you don't necessarily have a monetary goal. You have a participation goal. So I had told myself, I want to say like 100 donors or something like that to give whatever they could give. And so then in the back of my mind, I was like, well, if I could get 100 donors to give $50, that's $5,000. And I want to say we raised, I don't remember what it was. It could have been like 11,000, 12,000, 13,000, something like that.
I think it was between 12 and 13, if I remember correctly.
Which was amazing for our very first one. And then last year we had our second one, and we were able to raise over 18,000, I believe. So, that's very exciting, as it's never been done before. So those are some things that I've started. What are some ideas or goals that I have moving forward? Oh, another thing that we started this year, I guess, is bringing the company in one day during the week. So our model is very different than other ballet companies, partly because the Tallahassee Ballet, before it became a professional ballet company, was more of a civic kind of youth, company. And so they rehearsed in the evenings and on the weekends. And especially because we only had one studio too, and we had started a school. So it was trying to figure out the balance of having school classes, but then also having company rehearsals. Now that we have 3 studios and our company is growing and we're getting so much more interest in our company from different dancers all over the US, I said, we need to get into more of a model of having our dancers here during the day. But it's challenging because our dancers do have to have other jobs in order to support themselves. And also we have a very different model in the sense that we have a very good relationship with FSU. So we have a lot of FSU School of Dance dancers who are in college during the day. So what we did this year was, now our dancers, they're still here Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. But now they do have Friday they're here from 10 to 2. So that way we're slowly starting to get into a model of being here more during the day, but also because we have this space, we have 3 studios and we don't really have anything going on until 3:30 in the afternoon. So it was also, how can we, be utilizing our facility? And then I also, with adding Fridays, I wanted to give our dancers and our artistic staff the ability to have a one day out of the weekend off, because our past model was Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturdays and Sundays rehearsing. And that's how it was when I was a dancer. But I'm now a mom. Our artistic director has a young child. Our ballet mistress has a young child. Our model has changed a little bit. And so with that, I want our artistic staff, and now we also have dancers who are mothers, who have families.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, it was like on a Sunday, and I was sitting there with my daughter, and I'm like, man, these dancers who have families and artistic staff that have families, they don't really get to see their families that much over the weekend. How can I change this? And so that was where, okay, let's add in Fridays. We take away Sundays. Now, we have big ballets like the Nutcracker, and our spring show this year is going to be Cinderella. And so we know that we will have to add them in closer to the show in order to actually get all of the rehearsal time in that we need. But at least giving our dancers and our artistic staff, 3 months, 4 months of, okay, you rehearse on Saturdays, but Sundays are off. I felt that was something really important, especially as we continue to grow and we have more dancers who are adults, who may have families, who may, have husbands, wives, whatever the case may be, so that they have the ability to be with their family, at least one day out of the weekend. So that was one thing that I did this year. Moving forward, oh gosh, let's see. I would love to be able to get to a point where we can pay our dancers a living salary. We're not there yet. It's going to take some time. But I would love to get there to where they can be here, even if it's just, 10 to 2, 10 to 3. So then if they needed to have a second job in the evenings, they could. But being able to pay our dancers more, I have another goal. I don't know if it will ever come to fruition, but as we grow, who knows, adding a trainee program to the Tallahassee Ballet. We, like I said, we have 3 studios now, and we have the ability for dancers to be here during the day. So having more of a training program where, people could be moving here from all over to come be a part of this trainee program that could potentially be a feeder then into our company. So that's one of my other goals. That's, I would say, more of a long-term goal. A shorter-term goal would be more visibility and exposure in the community. We used to be very community oriented and, going out there and performing at different events. And then with COVID, that obviously kind of put a damper on things. So now it's getting back to where we were before of being out in the community and giving our dancers opportunity to perform, giving our youth company more options to perform. I think that's also one of my goals. We have our main company, but then we also have our youth company who are super important. And I want to give them more opportunities to be able to go out and perform more. Right now they get to perform in the Nutcracker and they get to perform in our spring show, but I think it's super important to get them out there and getting through those nerves that you get when you're about to perform and just all of the different aspects. So being more community oriented. We're already starting that this year. We have a lot of things that we have coming up for the company, both youth company and main company, that, I'm really excited about to get us out there more. And then, again, like I was saying before, we are very, like most ballet organizations, we have our company, and then we also have our school, and we have an outreach program. So also at the same time of trying to do all these other things, growing our school, getting quality instructors in here, which we are now at a point where I feel like we're there. We've got great instructors who are committed and excited to be here and able to really help our younger generation. But also too, with us moving to this new location, a lot of Tallahassee still doesn't know that we're here. And they also don't realize who we are. Some people go, "Oh, I just thought you were a school." Or some people think, "Oh, I just thought you were a company." They don't realize that we have both. Getting the exposure that we need, so that we can get, more of our youth and young dancers in here training with us, and also making sure that our model of, we are a ballet organization. And we're a ballet school. We do offer jazz. We do offer contemporary, but what are we really strong at? And that, of course, is our ballet. So, getting to the point of, okay, they are the preeminent ballet school in Tallahassee. If your child really wants ballet, send them to the Tallahassee Ballet. So, making sure that is something that we can get out to the public. And then, of course, we have an outreach program where we go into Title I schools, where, we are able to provide after school dance instruction to kids who may not have the ability to afford to come to our school, to come and take classes. And I would love to see that program grow even more because, Tallahassee is a very interesting town, and there is a lot of parts of Tallahassee that, these kids can't afford to come here, or they don't have the resources. They don't They don't have the transportation, whatever the case may be. So if we can get into those areas and be able to provide dance instruction to those kids, I just think that that's huge. And also, one thing that my previous CEO really wanted to do, and I would like to get there as well, is being able to provide dance instruction as part of their schedule at school during the day, not just after school.
Yes.
So, like my daughter, she's got special area. That's where they have PE. That's where they have music. They have art. Why can't we have dance? Why can't that be part of their instruction during the day at school? So I would love to grow that more too. Sorry, that was such a long-winded answer.
I love it. Absolutely. I love it. Until the trainee program becomes, I guess, a feasible reality, have you considered a homeschool program a little bit smaller and probably younger members? Has that been a consideration?
Without a doubt, that is something that we've always talked about. And, we've had our education director reach out to different homeschool groups. But for some reason, it never sticks. And maybe that's just, I need to dive into it more to kind of see why it's not. But it is definitely something that we've thought about for sure, that we've tried to do. And even starting with, okay, let's offer some classes during the day, for our younger students, for, younger kids. Mm-hmm. But they just, for some reason, they don't ever end up, sticking. We don't get enough children to make it, financially feasible. So it's definitely something to look into. I think, because you're not wrong. There's definitely there's a community of and a really nice community here in Tallahassee of homeschool groups. Yes. So that might be something that, like you said, until the trainee program can become something that is more feasible, we might try that. I am one that's open to suggestions and ideas of how we can grow this organization. Yes. May not work. There may be things that, logistically may not happen, but I love to, I tell my staff, like, I love to bring me the ideas, bring me the, yes, what you would like to see, because you just never know. And times are changing too. So you have to you got to roll with the punches. You got to roll with the times. And we may end up seeing more kids going into homeschooling with everything that's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. So, that could be something that we, that could help us for sure.
Yes. You're a mom as well. So I wanted to ask about that and if that has affected your leadership style as well. And then also just the challenges of juggling being a mom and then also having such a extremely demanding career and job.
Yes. So, okay, let's see. How it has definitely changed a lot of things, I would say. I'm going to say this all, and basically, until you're a mom, you don't understand. Like, I remember hearing that for so many years, and it's so true that until you actually are in it and you are a mom, you don't get it until you're there. But, I tell my education director now, who she's not a mom yet. And I was there once too. I wasn't a mom, but like when we're, communicating to these parents, I try to come at it as, okay, how is the parent going to read this, react to this, all of that versus how we are, looking at it as professionals in a dance organization. It's completely different. Like I've had to tell her before, the email's too long. They're not going to read it. Because you don't realize until you're a parent and you're so busy and there's so many things going on. And whether you have 1 kid, 3 kids, whatever, it's busy. And they have, especially once they get into school, they have all these different activities. And then you're getting emails from the school, like their school. But then also from us, so it's trying to get the message out as clearly and concisely as possible, because these parents have a lot going on and they may not read everything. And I understand it now. I didn't before,
Yes,
but I do understand it now. So that's definitely, that part is at least administratively that's changed. I would say even my teaching style has changed now that I'm a mom. Not that I'm a pretty strict teacher. I'm a pretty hard teacher.
you are. Yes.
But I think I'm a little softer now than what I used to be. And I don't know if it's just becoming a mom or if it's just, I don't know, you look at things differently and you, I would like before, if a dancer would come up to me and say, I'm not feeling well, or I forgot my ballet shoes at home. So whatever the case be. Before, I was probably pretty ruthless. And I'm like, Susie May, why did that happen? Or why don't you tough it out? Or, whatever the case may be. Now I can go, okay, well, maybe it wasn't their fault that they forgot whatever the case may be at home. That could have been because their parent was running around and forgot it. There's been times I've forgotten my child's ballet shoes or jazz shoes. And so looking at it as, okay, Lauren, you don't have to like get on to them because it may not be their fault. It may have been out of their control. Or just, I would say I'm just probably a little bit softer after becoming a mom. Not that I'm not still challenging and not that I'm not strict. And
Which is a good thing, yes.
Yeah, I still expect a lot out of my students, but I approach certain aspects a little bit differently, or I take time to, maybe think about it a little bit more and look at it from a different perspective than what I used to. And as far as like the challenges of being a mom, but also running an organization and being in a, like you said, very, very demanding, can be very stressful. The first thing that comes to mind is mom guilt. So, and every mother or parent will understand this. It's not just me. And it's not just me being in this position. You have mom guilt no matter what. But, am I spending enough time with my child? Am I giving her the attention that she needs and deserves? Because I can tell you within the last couple of months of getting into this role, it's been a struggle for me to maintain a work-life balance. And I continue to tell myself and remind myself that I need to. But I don't know if I've ever had a day where I've completed everything that I needed to complete. And so there's always going to be something. And so,
yes,
there's never enough hours in the day. And so there's been times where I'm sitting at the computer at 9:00 at night and my husband looks at me and he's like, Lauren, turn off the computer. It's time to stop. so it's just, that's probably been the biggest struggle for me, is trying to maintain a work-life balance when, there's so much at stake for me. Now I look at it as, it's a little daunting, but the weight of the organization is on my shoulders, and I have very small shoulders. But that's why it's like a constant, like, okay, I've got to get this done. I've got to get this done. Because there's always something. But at the same time, I have a 7-year-old who, she deserves to have, her mommy present. And so it's just, trying to maintain that work-life balance. I've told my artistic director, please make sure you're maintaining a good work-life balance. I remember saying that to her. And then that night I was on my computer till like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I was like, Lauren, you need to listen to yourself. And you need to give yourself grace. And there was something else that I had just thought of. On the other hand, those are struggles. But the one thing I can say that's would be a positive way to look at my position is I do have flexibility. So I have the flexibility a couple days a week to go pick up my daughter from school and to take her home and to get her a snack and then bring her here for ballet class or for jazz class. I do have that flexibility. She's got something going on at school on Friday, and I'm like, I don't want to miss it. This is when the parents get to come and they get to cheer them on. And so I just blocked it out of my schedule of, no, I'm not going to take a meeting. I'm not going to spend time on the computer. I'm going to go and I'm going to support my child. So I will say, yes. I do have that flexibility. So it's kind of like it's a give and a take, because there's going to be times of the year where I'm super busy and I'm not able to see her as much, or I have to come into work in the evening. I have to go into the work, we have a performance over the weekend, and that's where the mom guilt sets in, and she doesn't want me to leave and she's crying and that sort of thing. But then on the same hand, there may be other times of the year where I can spend more time with her than, say, other individuals who have like a corporate job. I'm able to take her to school every day. So it's definitely, it's a give and a take.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I only have 2 remaining questions.
Okay.
I ask these to every guest at the end of the podcast. The first one is, what are you learning or learning about right now?
Ooh, I'm learning a lot. Okay, so let's see. I'm learning, specifically, I would say I'm learning a lot more about budgets. I'm learning a lot more about different things that you wouldn't ever think of, like things to do with taxes, payroll, workers' comp, like all things that I knew existed, but now I'm really having to learn about it, because yes. I need to know, as much as I may not be the one, doing these things, I need to know what they are. I need to know every detail and every aspect of this organization. So that way, if something were to happen, like COVID, for example, my previous CEO, she had to furlough basically all of the staff, everyone. And so then she had to do it all herself. And that was how we were able to stay afloat. So you just never know what could happen. So being able to make sure that I at least have an understanding of every little aspect of this organization. So I'm learning that. I'm learning, like I just said, how to try to maintain a work-life balance when you're in such a high-level role. our previous CEO, she said to me yesterday, she said, the one thing that's harder for you than it was for me was I didn't have young children when I became, at that point, it was executive director. Her children were pretty much in high school or about to graduate. So I'm in a little bit of a different, phase of life than she was. Yes. So things are different. And not only that, we continue to grow, which is great. But as we grow, there's going to be more and more things added. And so trying to maintain that work-life balance, that's one thing I'm learning. I will say still continuing to learn how to positively and properly run my staff. I'm still learning that. I'm still, I started to do that last year as COO operations. I was in charge of all the staff. But I feel like there's always something to learn. And, making sure that, they have what they need to do their jobs sufficiently and do it well and go, be able to go above and beyond. So I'm still learning, how to make sure that they have all the tools that they need. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm learning. I'm learning, or at least I'm telling myself that this time next year, I think I will feel completely different, hopefully. I'll have a year under my belt of being CEO. So I believe that within this whole year, I'm going to learn a lot, probably going to be overwhelmed, but telling myself it's okay. Like I said, giving myself grace, learning to give myself grace, telling myself that things are going to take time. So I tell everyone else with, having a new CEO and having a new artistic director that, things are going to take time. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a transition, but then also taking that information and making sure that I know that and remind myself of that. It doesn't just happen with, flip of a switch. So.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. And then what is one thing you wish you could teach everyone?
Oh, okay. Let's see. I guess I kind of said it before, but, teaching anyone that you may have a plan of where you think your life will go, or what you want to happen, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the plan. It could change. It could evolve. It could grow into something that you never expected. So I would say, like I said before, keep your options open. Be willing to continue learning, to continue growing, to continue being a sponge, because you just never know what doors will open, or what opportunities will come your way. And you just have to be willing to embrace those. And, and maybe not everything is, there's going to be some bumps. There's going to be some bruises. There's going to be tears, and there's going to be frustration, and there's going to be so many different, feelings and things that happen. But, as long as you continue working hard and for me personally, doing what I love, I think that that's invaluable. You know, I when you work for a nonprofit, you're not working to make a lot of money. You're working for something that you truly believe in and that you are passionate about and that you love. And so even though times can be hard and difficult and stressful and overwhelming, when it comes down to it, you love what you're doing. You love, for me, this place is my second home. I absolutely love the Tallahassee Ballet. I get emotional every time I sit in the audience and watch a performance. Obviously, I was a dancer, so I miss it. But now it's kind of changed into, I get this like overwhelming sense of pride and love and happiness from watching all of these dancers. And I think, like, I'm getting chills, seeing also how far this organization has come and what it continues to do and where we're going and getting to see these dancers out on stage. And I'm like, oh my God, look at how good the company looks. So that, to me, whenever I see that, it literally makes me go, this is why I do what I do. This is why I spend hours upon hours, on the weekends or late at night or whatever, or, this is why, to see these dancers out on stage, or to not the company, also like, getting to sit in and watch the classes and seeing these younger children just, want to be there and loving learning and all of that. It makes it all worth it. So, I would just say, something like I just said before, learning, making sure you're willing to continue, learning and growing and being willing to, when one door closes, another door may open. So like circling back, when I was told that my arms were too short and I would never make it in the dance world, I could have easily been like, I'm done. I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. Let me go into something completely different. But I didn't. So you never know. When one door closes, another could open.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming up on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been, I've felt so very honored that you would pick me to be a part of your podcast. So I really do appreciate it. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. You can always cut it out. But we love Eleanor. We are, so happy to have her as part of the ballet. And I'm hoping that, like what I just said, she's started this podcast, and you never know what could come from it. Keep working hard. Keep doing what you're doing, because you just never know.
Thank you so much. That's so kind. I hope you enjoy this episode of the Bookish Ballerina Podcast. To learn more, follow at the.bookish.ballerina or at the.bookish.ballerina.podcast on Instagram. You can also support us and learn more at www.buymeacoffee.com/the.bookish.ballerina. Thank you so much. See you for the next episode.